before we go to her, or I think it looks like she's left us, but equitable distribution. I know you're on the verge of phase 3, possibly end of this month. So since we are looking at you with a great deal of optimism, how do we ensure as a country, 1.3 billion people, we know your abilities to manufacture, we know that there is always a limitation, certain cap on how much you can manufacture. How do we ensure that this equitable distribution just doesn't remain in the paper and, like Mahima said, the highest bidder? Because I've heard you in other webinars where you said, Chinese government came in and blocked the entire South American market on some other vaccine development process. How do we ensure that such a thing does not happen, and how do we ensure Hyderabad, being the vaccine capital of the world, how do we ensure we assert our position? How do we ensure we not only supply for India, we also manufacture and supply to the rest of the world in a very equitable fashion? How do we do that?
I just want to blame the government for that matter, honestly. The reason is the government is looking at it more on a health point of view, COVID problem. But I consider it's the economic point of view. If somebody is starving with the loss of a job and starving, he's going to die. That's much worse. And the WHO and the Indian government, the drug controller, looks at what is 1% adverse reactions and all that. But they're not looking at it, how do we deploy faster? It is possible. Technology now, new technologies, and all the manufacturers, we have all the quality control systems in place. Nothing that we are short circuit anything. But I think government has to sit in the central government and call the manufacturers, tell me what you want. Each one they're working in compartment. They say we are fast track, we are fast track. But all put together, no fast track in the country. So literally it is isolation. Each one want to look at microscope. How come this Indian company can develop this COVID vaccine? Let me look at it. If it comes from US, no scrutiny, much. But I think that system has to be put now. Our Chief Minister has to put a pressure on the Prime Minister's office. Something the drug controller and DBT, all of them, Principal Secretary should stick together, call the manufacturers, quick strategy discussion, and how do we execute. There must be one leader there, should be executed. If it is done, honestly I'm telling you, all the 4 manufacturers, 3 from here, Serum, can feed the entire 1.2 billion. Coming to affordability, trust me, I'm telling you, we are lesser than water bottle cost of vaccine. so water bottle is more expensive.
I'm sure the vaccine wouldn't be as much, 330 ml.
This is 5 times more expensive than your vaccine. So we are really affordable. I think we are the lowest in the world. And the best quality. Trust me, I'm telling you. Our quality of a vaccine, Indian manufacturers' quality of vaccine, and GSK and Sanofi is exactly the same. Please keep in mind. We follow exactly WHO, TRS and US FDA guidelines, nothing less. People think Indian vaccine means something low quality. No, all are same quality. There's only one quality in vaccine field. There's no 2 quality. So only one quality, be assured of that. And I think, there's some strategic discussion missing, leadership is missing in Delhi to take on, quickly sit together and put a strategy. Chinese, what they've done, they've given $1 billion to Mexico, blocking the entire Latin American market. They went to Egypt, they're blocking the African market. I really think in 5 years, the Gavi may not exist, UNICEF also may not exist. The way Chinese going and dominating the country's market. It's very scary.
Krishna, in fact, I agree with you on 2 things here. First thing I think is Government of India really needs to take all stakeholders, including the states and the manufacturers, into confidence, strategize together. Instead of saying just 1 billion doses over a period of so many days or months or so many weeks, we need to strategize on not only on vaccine distribution, but also when we go into that phase where we have to test larger population. I think we need strategies, we need to test all corners of the country, and we need to ensure that the vaccine is made available. Secondly, on Krishna's point, I can vouch for it, because I have been to his lab today on the biosafety level 3, BSL 3 standard lab. Not just a lab, in fact the manufacturing facility. I am told it's one of its kind in the world, not just in India, but it's one of its kind in the world. I am delighted and thrilled to have witnessed something of that caliber and that standard in Hyderabad. I'm sure other labs are also, labs are of BSL 3 level, but manufacturing at BSL 3 level is also something that is truly unique. So we can certainly compete in terms of quality, in terms of cost, in terms of scale with everybody else in the world. So I also agree with you on the fact that we need to possibly position ourselves, brand ourselves, and talk up in the sense of Government of India and the state governments promoting you and encouraging the local manufacturers. Now, Anand, on this issue of equitable distribution, I've heard Prime Minister Modi talk about how we could possibly how we should possibly start planning now to distribute this vaccine to the large, population of our country. What are your thoughts? And then we go to final comments from each of us, each of you.
As you rightly said, we need to ponder on this. Like, it's not just developing a vaccine, and then how do we address this 1 billion population who have to be immunized? Because it, from a child to a senior citizen has to be given this vaccine. So in terms of, see, each company, currently what we do is we have certain manufacturing capacity for existing vaccines. Like say we produce various kinds of vaccines for the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And then what now we are doing is some of those spare capacities is what we are going to use for when this COVID vaccine candidate comes. So we are going to use some of the spare capacities that we have. So the amount of spare capacity that exists in each of the vaccine manufacturers, that is not determined yet. I mean, even if any vaccine, like say if Dr. Ella was to develop the Covaxin, and if there's additional capacity required, so far no attempts have been made to even understand how much spare capacities are available with the other manufacturers. Now that I heard from Mahima that they're going to produce like 80 million doses a month, and they are worried about their inability to fill finish. I'm happy to offer, we have put a brand new fill finish facility just 7-8 kilometers from here, which can fill 200 million doses if it is a 10-dose vial, and if it is a 20-dose vial, it will be much more than that.
You guys need to meet more often, I think.
So some kind of a dialogue among vaccine manufacturers should happen, because it's not about a race as to who comes out with the vaccine first, who makes the most money, or it's not about that. It's like, how do we address, I mean, if you see in terms of the size, today you see the polio vaccine program is supposed to be the biggest, but that's catering to only 27 million. But today you're talking about 1 billion people, and what mechanism is there in case if a candidate comes, how are you going to mass produce, and then how are you also going to distribute across, and if it's going to be a vaccine which has to be stored at -70 or beyond, then really we lack the infrastructure for those kind of things. So I think some high-level planning at the center has to happen to ensure speedy development, also adequate distribution across the country.